when I was a child, I started out thinking people were simplistic and stupid. And it's like, I've never really had to alter that. I'll never die. I'll be here, you know, it's like, I'll never go away. We have raised many generations of pussies.
Is the everything and nothing of non still applicable today, or has it become something more?
No, it's sort of the same. I think I started off with like an ideal, perfect idea, and I really haven't had to, you know, anything I've added to it has just detracted from the original premise. So I think you know, I like that idea of just a tabula rasa where, you know, it's just like doing something that blanks out the brain and like chases all the thought out of your brain. And
To the new dawn! Yes, the new dawn.
Some of the earliest interviews I've seen with you where you're talking about the importance of pranks. And
yeah, well, the earliest interviews, I was still very young and still, you know, a little pissed off at everybody and everything. So I just wanted to fuck with people, and I wanted to abuse people and experience some sort of schadenfreude from that. But, you know, I'm going to be 60 in 6 months. So, you know, it's like, I really, it's not a good use of my time. If something happens that's obvious, like, what was it? Something happened today that there was a guy in the restaurant we went to this morning, and I swear he was a dead ringer for Bill Cosby.
yeah.
And if he'd still been there when we left, I wanted to just go up and said, you know, we're familiar with your troubles you're going through now. We just want you to know we're all behind you 100%, whether it's true or not, you know? For me, it was part of like almost like an initiatory process where I was seeing how much you can get away with, how much you can like go into somebody's head and alter their reality with a few weird ideas. So part of that was just because when I was younger, I didn't want to have a job, punch a time clock, and I thought, if I'm good enough at this, I could just like go through the rest of my life and just manipulate things and get whatever I want from whatever situation I want. And so that was part of it for me, you know, beyond just like striking out at people.
Right.
Like an angry teenager or something. But I think, you know, since that initial pranks book came out, there's like almost like this prank culture because like Spy magazine started, if you remember this, they started doing the celebrity pranks, and you know, I think most of the prank stuff I see on TV, it looks like a setup. It looks like people are in on it. They hire people who are actors who pretend they're like confused, or you know. And so a lot of that stuff in Punk'd, you know, it's like I think most of those people are probably in on it. So I don't think that was. I just think that was people pretending to do pranks.
Boys being boys, how important do you think that is for boys to just be troublemakers and rabble-rousers. And
I think it's very important. I think, it's like whatever natural impulse you have is like it's part of the human nature. And, I was just thinking earlier today, people are all like, this is about the children. We want to protect the children. And it's like, children are naturally cruel. Yeah. They naturally look for the weakest link and pick on the weakest link. They naturally get away with whatever they can get away with. And to like try to set up parameters like, of like what's okay and what's not. And of course, everybody having to wear head protection and elbow pads to do whatever the stuff I used to do, and I'm still alive at almost 60. Right. I fell out of plenty of trees and smashed bikes into things, and I'm still alive to tell about it. So
yeah,
I think we're raising a generation. We have raised many generations of pussies, and I think it's. And when people see somebody who's not a pussy, they respond to it. There's some visceral response where if there's like a cruel character on TV who says to somebody, you're an idiot, you're not talented, whatever, on a talent show, people love that guy. They're just drawn to him because it's like, oh, thank gosh, finally, somebody's just like speaking their mind. They're not,
right.
tiptoeing around on eggshells.
Yeah. How important to you are people like Bob Larson, the antagonists that go after those who question the status?
Well, I generally think people like that are just way more interesting. So, whether they're misguided or not misguided, I usually am attracted to those kind of people, for whatever reason, because, it's just like those are the things that make life interesting. I've been into a lot of things, and I know people who've made entire careers out of obsessing on one thing that I'm interested in. And it's like, maybe I'm interested in something and I popularize it and I don't make a cent off it, but I just am interested in it because I think it's great. And then if somebody else is obsessive enough to devote themselves to that and make an entire career out of it, good for them. But I mean, for me, it's like I have to have all sorts of different things to be interested in. But I think, most people only need one thing or a couple things.
Right. Cool.
But that's always the way,
Film that you think is essential for all viewers? Maybe Pearls Before Swine? I don't know.
No. That wouldn't be on the list, sadly. But I don't know. There's thousands of films.
Right.
But I used to think, it's like my favorite film was Incredibly Strange Creatures Who Stop Living Became Mixed Up Zombies, and I like Dementia. And,
great film.
Yeah, I did. Me and my friend Dwid did a live soundtrack to that, the silent version of that, at Paris Film Festival, and it was great. Because it's like it's a beatnik film noir surreal nightmare, and what could be better? That's good, but I just got a bunch of films I haven't seen for like 30 years. I showed these guys one last night called The Gangster with Barry Sullivan. I haven't seen it since I was shown it by Anton LaVey at his house.
Oh, nice.
And it's never been available. And a couple weeks ago, I looked it up on the internet, and surprise, surprise, it's available on DVD. And I got it right before I came here, and that has some great stuff in it. You know, we watched Shadow of a Doubt, the Hitchcock film.
Oh, good film.
Yeah, that has some amazing stuff in it.
Have you seen, well, nobody's seen it. Hopefully one day we will, but Jerry Lewis's The Clown That Laughed.
The Day the Clown Cried.
That's it, The Day the Clown Cried.
No, I knew a guy who, this comedian we know, Jeff Wayne, was friends with Jerry Lewis. And Jerry Lewis actually offered to show Jeff Wayne The Day the Clown Cried. And Jeff Wayne didn't want to see it, but he would have to have it screened by Jerry Lewis, sitting next to Jerry Lewis, and he was just like worried that he would laugh at all the wrong parts. Or he would laugh when it was supposed to be poignant. So he never saw it, but you know, like Jerry Lewis said, it's like at this point he just can't release it because no matter how good it is, it's not going to be good as people expected, and they're going to be harsh in their judgments, and you know, so it's just like something that we'll have to wait until he dies. I think with Jerry Lewis, he has just been, you know, it's like he is one of these people who, the second he dies, people are going to say, oh my God, this guy is a genius. Mm-hmm. They've spent the last 5 or 6 decades going, this guy's an idiot. His films stink. He's rotten.
But the French love him.
He's a mean son of a bitch. Yeah, I remember seeing, who was it, like Jean-Luc Godard or something.
Oh, yeah.
Dick Cavett back in the 70s, and Cavett said, so what is this thing where, you know, French people like Jerry Lewis? Where, you know, and Cavett brought up The Day the Clown Cried, and he said, oh, but that's beautiful, you know, he's a clown in a concentration camp, it's, you know, and Cavett was just like, oh, well, you know, couldn't relate to that, but I think Jerry Lewis is just, you know, he's taken so much shit for so many years. And I think he's a genius. But I think everybody is going to hop on that bandwagon the second he dies. Like the second I die, I'm going to be the most inventive, avant-garde musician of the 20th century. And all this stuff, you know, there's statues in British squares of like Oscar Wilde, who's run out of England on a rail and died in poverty in Paris. Yeah. And now he's like a British national treasure. Yeah. It's like, I just think everybody loves dead people because it's like they can just like cancel out all the questionable stuff they ever did and just like enlarge the stuff they did that might have been great or good, you know.
Do you want a conspiracy theory about your death? Would that be good?
No. What? Like what? Stuff
I'm
that's
not
been on the
planning it.
internet?
I'm just. I don't know. It's just whenever stars die, there's something like, oh well, he knew about the Illuminati. Things that are so absurd.
No, I want the survival myth. I want to go in with like Jim Morrison, Adolf Hitler, Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
It's like everybody thinks Boyd is dead, but he's actually down in Belize drinking cocktails on the beach.
That's a good plan.
It's like I'll never die. I'll be here. It's like I'll never go away.
Tell us a little bit about what happened and the initial show and the Twitter backlash and everything that came from that.
I'm not an internet person, so I didn't follow all this stuff. Everything that I know about it, I sort of got not secondhand, but Aaron told me about. But from what I understand, some people who are unsuccessful artists and musicians, a lot of whom resent me because they think that I'm just wrong and bad, and that, but the fact that I can go to some place like Moscow and thousands of people show up and they know all the words to all the songs, it's like they resent that because they feel like, well, I'm an artist, why don't thousands of people come to my shows? So I think part of it's that it's just like there are people who resent me, and all of these people, my reality is that virtually everybody loves me. Everybody who's met me like me. They think I'm a great guy. It's like the people who have never really looked into what I do, but somebody said this, that, or the other, then they, want to tar and feather me or lynch me or something. But, it's like, that's not a reality to me because it's like something I never have to deal with. It's just like, I think that a few people on the internet can make it look like there's this mass backlash against me, but my reality is that I spent the last 40 years traveling to every wonderful city in the world, eating the best possible meals, staying at the nicest possible hotels, and met people who are nice and intelligent and well-dressed, and so it's like my life is perfect. These people who show up and protest are to me, it's like there are losers and winners in life. And the people who are doing exactly what they want and they're very happy and couldn't ask for another possible thing, those are the winners. The people who are always angry and unhappy and they don't have what they want, those are the losers, and they always have been losers and they always will be losers. So I don't concern myself too much with people. I just dismiss people who are losers. I can see them coming down the street, and it's like, I'm not going to talk to that person. Not going to interact with the guy who asked me for a cigarette. I don't have any cigarettes, but I wouldn't give him a cigarette if I did. Right.
Do you think that's because people latch on to one or two things because of their simplicity and their single-mindedness? Like they go, well, he's got jackboots on, he's got Nazi imagery, or this or that, and then they suddenly...
These aren't jackboots, these are riding boots.
I know that, but most people don't. So
yeah, you wear some riding boots, and all of a sudden you're a jackbooted thug.
That's how it is when it comes to the simplicity of people's minds. It's pretty embarrassing and sickening because you do one or two things and suddenly people latch onto that and make assumptions. So,
well, it's like I started out, when I was a child, I started out thinking people were simplistic and stupid, and it's like I've never really had to alter that. Now I kind of am at the point where I think most people are either borderline retarded or borderline psychotic. It's like I listen to, if talk radio is on when I'm in the car, I just think, how do these people pay the bills? How do they go to a job? These are people who really believe things that are just so intrinsically wrong and diametrically opposed to every reality of life that I don't even know how they navigate through the real world. I mean, I don't like navigating through the real world. I don't like waiting in line at a post office. And this is like, if I could never leave my house, and I really don't have to, I would never leave my house. But, every time you step out of the house, it just slaps you in the face. Or every time you turn on a radio or television, you just go, are people really that nuts now?
Yeah.
Yeah. People latch onto one or two things about anything. It's like even like you watch one program from the 50s and somebody's living in an ultra modern arty apartment, and another show from the 50s, it's all like American colonial furniture. And when people think about the 50s, they've got one vision in their mind, but realistically, the 50s were as diverse as anything. If you look at Christianity, there are like all these groups of Christians hate all the other groups of Christians and think they're devil inspired. Orthodox Jews hate the liberal Jews. The liberal Jews hate the ultra-Orthodox warmonger Jews. So, it's like, and people think, oh, Judaism, we know what that is. It's this one thing. It's 1,001 things. And everything in life is 1,001 things. And for people to reduce everything to, it's just, I can't comprehend it because my mind doesn't work that way. But
you mean that, and that was an excellent point, that kind of hive mentality that also is reflected in social media, which seems to be even worse. I mean, like the transgender bathroom issue, where people are flipping out over that. Do you think things like that are a real issue that people have, or do you think it's just simply a distraction? Like, it's the modern day gossip.
I think everything is a distraction. Are you kidding? I think all the things that people say, this is the most important issue, this is a crisis, and we don't deal with this. And it's like you could ignore it and nothing would change. But I actually think the hive mentality, I don't think the hive mentality is bad. I think if you look at bees or ants or something, it's like they have that hive mentality for a reason, and the same mentality exists here, but people don't acknowledge it. Everybody says, oh, I want to be a unique individual, but given they've got 1,000,001 options, but they will all get in some group think, some group identity. They dress a certain way. They want to do the thing to fit in with the herd or the crowd or whatever, but they want to hang on to this abstract idea that they're all unique individuals somehow. So it's like their instincts are telling them, be part of the mass, be part of the collective, but their intellectual conceits are saying, I'm a unique individual. I'm special. I've met, I could count the special people I've met on the fingers of this hand and have many fingers left over. They're great people, but, unique individuals? Lead a very ordinary life. I don't really have a lot to say to people anymore, or a lot I feel compelled to communicate to people anymore. But I do feel like most people get it. Most people understand what I'm on about. And I think that's something that people resent, is that in the early years, people thought, I was this really bad influence, that I was like leading people's thought in this dangerous, sketchy direction. And I think people's thought was already over there, and for them to hear somebody talking about the same things they were already on about was just a vindication to them. So they were like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I like this. So, living the American dream. I wonder if he's selling those crosses that he has the teenage group. Yeah, and he is, but they're a fortune. I thought, oh, it'd be amusing to have one of those. But it's like, a what donation?
$300, I can have a Bob Larson cross?
He's like a throwback to another era where a guy could just have an idea and have the personality to sell the idea and, turn it into a multi-million-dollar business, Because last time I went there, I had his book, Hippies, Hindus, and Rock and Roll. And so first,
how could that be a bad book?
And, he saw, Where'd you get this, man? That's the first book I ever wrote. I sell those out of the trunk of my car.
That's a perfect Bob Lars. You've got like the kind of Andrew Eldritch look right now.
Who's Andrew Eldritch?
The singer of Sisters of Mercy. That band.
Yeah.
You know that band?
No, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
No,
Cool
I'm,
Kids,
I'm
that's even
blissfully
better. Yeah, it's even
unaware
better.
of so many things.
That's a good thing.
It's like one of the '80s like epitomal goth band. You know?
The development of MC5 and the Stooges transformed into the 80s.
Yes, MC5.
What do you
Oh,
think, Chris?
MC5, yeah.
Kick out the jams, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Carson, do you have a little bit of a resemblance to Andrew Eldritch? I think like 80s Andrew Eldritch a little bit. That's
Somebody get a
good thing. He was
Somebody kicking a good bass line.
he was a smoking guy. You know?
Yeah, he was a
He
pimp.
still is.
I got the that MC5 album and the first Stooges album
Nice.
when they were cutouts in every Woolworth store.
Oh,
97
Woolworth.
cents for the Stooges and MC5.
that is cool. That's officially badass.